A newly elected member of Congress is apologizing for criticizing supporters of Israel after a blast from her own party leadership.
Yesterday, her House Democratic colleagues circulated a letter calling on leadership to take action on what they called hateful speech. And House Speaker Nancy Pelosi did just that, issuing her own blistering statement calling Omar's tweets anti-Semitic and deeply offensive.
A couple days ago, all hell broke loose when Ilhan Omar, a freshman congressperson who also happens to be a Somali refugee who wears a hijab, had the audacity to mention the unspeakable truth that AIPAC uses money to influence legislation and motivate people in Congress. And as a lobbying group, that is literally what they do. So it's insane to me why people got this mad. It's like me getting mad at Twitch chat when I suck at Apex Legends and then they mention it. It's just, I'm bad. I'm not even gonna bother arguing. Except the spineless Democratic Party threw Ilhan Omar under the bus, and Republicans, famous for their tolerance by the way, predictably weaponized this hysteria and sought to kick Omar off the Foreign Affairs Committee. Luckily, she's still there, because during a committee hearing yesterday, Omar popped the off on South America's very own Henry Kissinger, Elliott Abrams.
On February 8, 1982, you testified before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee about U.S. policy in El Salvador. In that hearing, you dismissed as communist propaganda report about the massacre of El Mozote, in which more than 800 civilians, including children as young as 2 years old, were brutally murdered by U.S.-trained troops.
Now, for those of you unfamiliar, Elliott Abrams started his job doing human rights work for the U.S. by covering up the famous El Mozote massacre in El Salvador, where U.S.-trained Salvadoran military units bragged about raping and killing 12-year-olds, okay?
You later said that the U.S. policy in El Salvador was a fabulous achievement. Yes or no, do you still think so?
From the day that President Duarte was elected in a free election to this day, El Salvador has been a democracy. That's a fabulous achievement.
According to Abrams, planting the brutal CIA-backed Duarte in power, where he routinely bombed civilian targets, where his opposition could not participate in elections, and where today El Salvador has the highest murder rate in the world, 50% higher than Venezuela and 15 times higher than the US, is a fabulous achievement. This fabulous achievement is why thousands flee El Salvador on foot and seek refuge in the US. It's because guys like Abrams provide material support for violent regimes because, well, at least they're not socialist. And then they cover up for those regimes' atrocities. So glad this guy's going to bring more fabulous achievements like that to Venezuela. And it won't matter because he'll just lie about it, like he did with Iran-Contra.
In 1991, you pleaded guilty to 2 counts of withholding information from Congress regarding your involvement in the Iran-Contra affair, for which you were later pardoned by President George H.W. Bush.
Abrams got the gentlest of slaps on his wrist with 100 hours of community service for participating in treason. And then he was later pardoned by George H.W. Bush, only because Bush Sr. also played an important role in Iran-Contra and wanted to cover his own pasty ass. Now, Abrams has had his hands in almost every atrocity committed in the war against socialism in Latin America. And in a truly just world, he would be rotting in The Hague. But in the US, he gets to do what he loves once again, this time as the peace envoy to Venezuela.
Yes or no, would you support an armed faction within Venezuela that engages in war crimes, crimes against humanity or genocide, if you believe they were serving U.S. interests, as you did in Guatemala, El Salvador, and Nicaragua?
I don't think this entire line of questioning is meant to be real questions, and so I will not reply.
And now you have people caping for this war criminal. It really shows you how little we care about brown people in this country when this dip can talk about how proud he is of his genocidal death squad dictatorship, and it doesn't even get half the coverage or condemnation of a poorly worded tweet that can be misconstrued as anti-Semitic. Now, famous libtard Karl Marx said that history repeats itself. The first time is tragedy, and the second time is farce. So now we have Elliott Abrams crawling out from under a rock somewhere deep inside the foreign policy establishment to bring Venezuela the horrors he once visited upon the people of El Salvador, Nicaragua, and Honduras. And Marx is right. It is a farce to think that a war criminal like Elliott Abrams should be allowed anywhere near a sovereign Latin American state instead of being sent directly to The Hague. But it won't be funny when his actions turn Venezuela into even more of a failed state marked by civil strife, death squads, and more civilian massacres. Or, as Abrams would like to call it, a fabulous achievement. I'm Hasan Piker. If you like this video, please share it with your friends and leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, if you'd like to support TYT, please go to tyt.com/join and join TYT membership. It's only $5 a month and it greatly helps us. And this has been The Breakdown.
You like this video? Great. Never miss another breakdown video by hitting the subscribe button below, and also ring the bell to get notified whenever we publish a new one.
Perfect.